Hey everybody, are you ready to learn some live editing tips? You've started your adventure. Now you have a story to tell. But how? This is your show, RV Media Creators. I'm Garrett, and in this community, we will show you how. So let's show the world your story. All right, welcome to another live stream. It'll be an interesting stream today. I wanted to go over some editing tips and tricks for you guys. If you have any suggestions or anything that you would like me to try to explain to you guys as far as how editing works and how things go, let me know. I'm going to go over some basic things and then get into a little bit of transitions and things like that. It's going to be a good live stream. If the connection isn't super great, I am recording it right now and I'll upload it as a second video. So, hey Mel and Nettie, and Mel and Nettie. All right. Let's go ahead and jump right into all the fun stuff. I'm going to probably try and leave the comments till the end. But if you have a question or you want to say hi to other people, by all means, have fun with that. So I wanted to congratulate Mel and Nettie for putting up their first full-length video. It was absolutely awesome. It was great to get to know you guys just a little bit better, and look forward to more videos that you guys have in the future. Okay, let's go ahead and jump over to our editor. Now, I decided to use Final Cut Pro, and the reason I'm using Final Cut Pro is there's more apps on like PC and some of the other free apps like DaVinci Resolve that are a lot more similar to Final Cut Pro than, let's say, like iMovie. iMovie is fairly linear, but it also has a lot of limitations. But I could do a video just on iMovie and just do something similar to this for that. So if that's something you guys would like, let me know. If not, let's get back into editing. Now I got a couple different clips for you guys. Some of them are just some basic clips. Some of them are some trick shot stuff that I'm working on. So let's go ahead and show you some of the stuff that I have here. You can do a twist shot like that too. Really and truly, doing camera movements quickly and then splicing it together with another camera movement is a great way of doing in-camera transitions without doing extra effects. Alright, I'm talking about doing in-camera transitions, like how to move your camera in a different angle and then cutting it to where the movement is the transition. But one of the things you will notice is that I had some of the pauses. Now, it could be that I'm just out of shape. It could be that the altitude up here is still a little bit thin for me, but I'm getting used to it. But you'll notice that I have these gaps where I'm not talking. One of the easiest things you can do, and you can do this in any editor, if you have a long gap between when you're talking and the next sentence or the next few words, you can actually just cut that out. So you see that I was talking, then I'm not talking. So I'm going to use my cut tool. And cut tool is pretty similar to anything that you have on most of the different editors. And I'll take that clip that I don't want and I'll just delete it. And I wait. All right, there we go. Now when you see this, now you can do a twist shot like that too. Really and truly, you'll see that there's just not that gap in between. And depending on how you want your video to come across, if you want to save a little bit of time on your video, say it's too long or you have a section where you have a huge gap where you're not saying anything, then the best thing really to do is just to cut that little area out. And if you have a way to see the audio, you see these little like up and down little bumps down below my video file. That's the audio. And you'll notice the parts that are low, those are parts that aren't talking. Parts that are high are parts where I am talking. Now you can just basically take this and just scrub through your video file, which basically is, you're moving back and forth in the file, and find parts that you have a gap or where you're not talking. This way you can kind of get some really nice, you can make your footage easier and moves it along just a bit quicker like this. You can do a twist shot like that too. Really and truly, doing camera movements quickly and then splicing it together with another camera movement is a great way. Now, if you don't like how it looks, you can always take another shot. Let's say you want to add that shot in. You can add that shot in as a layer above where you've cut. Like that. Now when you go to play it, you can do a twist shot like that too. Really and truly, doing camera movements quickly and then splicing it together with another camera movement is a great way. So another way, if you have gaps but you don't like how it looks, you can find something that's relevant that you want to add in, and you can add that over the top. Now, another way that you can kind of cover up some of the stutteriness is, let's add some music. All right. So add some music. I'm going to pull the volume down just a bit so it's not so loud. And then when you play it, you can do a twist shot like that too. Really and truly, doing camera movements quickly and then splicing it together with another camera movement is a great way of... There are other ways for sure to get your video to kind of progress a little more quickly if you feel that it's kind of going sluggish. You can add music, you can just take some of the gaps out. You don't have to take all of them out, and you might not want to cut them too close, because if you cut them too close, you'll run into an issue where you'll be sitting there like, oh, it sounds like I'm going like this, which is really hard to understand. So, best thing I suggest to do is, if you have a video that's way too long or you have a gap, let's say you're talking about something, you lose your train of thought, just stop, think about what you want to say, how you want to say it, leave the camera rolling, and then just cut out that long gap in between. You have no idea how many times on Diary of a Family we have sat down and was like, oh, let's change this up just a bit because this was crazy. Or let's change the order of it. Let's sit down and think about how we want to say this in the best way possible. And then move on. Now this can work for any kind of editor. It really does not matter what editor you have. Just figure out what tools, like where you can see the audio of your file. Let's go back over where you can see the audio of your file, and where you can cut your footage, and then just cut the blank areas that have a lot of dead space in it, if that makes sense. All right, that was the very basics of maybe making your video just a little bit quicker and helping you structure your video so that it makes just a little bit more sense. All right, one of the things I was talking about and I wanted to go over is doing in-camera transitions. The one thing I really like about in-camera transitions, see right here, I'm sideways and then I come back up. Well, I can take that transition and I can cut it in a place where when you add other movements into it, it'll make it into a nice transition. Let's go ahead and show you that. I think, let's go back over here. Let's see, down, I think it's this one. All right, I'm gonna pull this clip out because I think that's the second one. Put this one in. Trying some effect shots.
I'm not even pedaling and I'm like,
yeah, I see that. All right, now let's talk about some here's a perfect example of what I was talking about. Sometimes if you have an idea of what you want to say, but you don't know maybe the best way to do it, try it out till you think it's right, and then this whole section, I don't need it. Now let's talk about some So I tried my camera transition, and now, let's see here. I'll cut, and I'll just take this whole section, which is about 18 seconds long. I'll take it out. I'll fade the audio up just a bit so it's not so crazy. And then when you start the video, now let's talk about some in-camera transitions. These are transitions you can use without having to get special editing software or pay for special effects or anything like that. Now, all you literally have to do is think about what kind of shots do you need. Like, let's show you this mountain. All right, you'll see that I went and I just pan my camera up into the sky. All you have to do is when you're up into the sky, like here, you make a cut in your video. And now I have there, let's see, do I like that one? I like that one. So when you look at the video, it ends up looking a lot cooler. Let's show you this mountain. And all I had to do was a camera movement from one shot to the next. I didn't have to put any kind of transitions or any kind of fades or anything especially cool. If you have the ability to do a cross fade or a cross dissolve, that could also help smooth it out. And put just a few frames in there, and then I'll show you what that looks like here. It's a fast transition. Let's show you this mountain. And it might take you a few seconds to figure it out, but play around with how do you do different movements to get a different kind of effect. You could do it into like pan down into like a river. You can pan up into the sky. You can just do a really quick, like a whip around, and whip that into something else. Let's see. Another kind of shot. So here's a good shot of a whip So I have it, and I'm like, let's show you this. Boom. And you see the blur. This motion blur is really key. Because now, I mean, as much, and I can use this the other way too. So I can come right into him, right into Eddie on this clip. So I go, another kind of shot. You can do something just straight like that, and that you could almost just leave it like that. But let's say, well, I didn't want to add that portion of the clip, but maybe I wanted to add right up here. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Take that out. And now, when you go and you show it, kind of shot. Maybe I like this one better. You can just take out the extra clips that you don't want. Delete. Or wrong one. This one right here. And a shot. And there you go. It is pretty simple to use camera movements to be able to change the picture, to be able to change your shots. And what's really cool about this kind of effect is you can use it on your phone, you could use it on a GoPro, you could use it on a normal camera. You don't have to use a high-end camera and a professional editing program to be able to achieve some pretty cool effects. So just keep that in mind. If you guys have anything that you want me to show you after I'm done showing you some of these tips and tricks, then let me know in the comments or in the chat, and I'll get to them after I'm done. Let's go back to the editor. And you'll notice that I have a bunch of another gaps in. Oop.
You've started your adventure.
Come on. Okay, back to, sorry about that. You'll notice that I have a bunch of gaps here and there. By all means, depending on how you want this to work, how you like it to look, some of these larger gaps for me personally, I like it to move just a little bit quicker. So I will take out, just these little gaps. I'll try to make it sound natural and not so awkward. Anything like that. Now, all you literally have to do is think about what kind of shots do you need. Like, you can also take out words that are like meaningless words, like this one. Like, let's show you this map. So instead of having that I could take out the and when you talk, shots do you need? Like, let's show you this mountain. Boom. Thanks for joining Mel and Eddie. We will talk to you guys later. Just by taking out some of the extra ums and ahs, if you have problems with that, then by all means figure it where they're at, and you can easily just cut them out. You can use them on any program that I've ever used to edit videos, because I've used quite a few, have had the ability to cut out places where you didn't want it to be. Okay, so that was a couple of the in-camera transitions. It's fine. There was another one I was working on. This one. All right, I'm gonna take these videos out because I don't need these ones. Now this one is a little bit more challenging, but it's still possible on most editors. Alright, thanks Mel for sticking around. I'll try to get in some Juanito jokes while I can. Alright, let's see back here. Oop, I need to go a little bit further. Okay. You'll see here that I do a cross pan. Now what a cross pan allows you to do is you can actually do a swipe transition. So we're going to get our shot set up like we want. Okay. Have that set up there. And you want to make sure that whatever item that you're using to cross over covers the entire screen and is fairly straight. Now, you can do this with trees, you can do this with fence posts, you can do this with any kind of large object. You could even probably do it with like an RV. But you just want it to be from top to bottom, all the way up and down, and as vertical as you possibly can within reason. We'll go cut that part there. It goes there. And now I'm just going to go over to a different post, basically the same kind of post, and here I don't need this extra part here. I'm going to take it up here on top so that it's overlaid, and then with this top layer you'll want to have the opacity down just a bit so that you can see what's going on. You'll see that I have those two posts that are in my shot. Now what I'll just do is I'll move this over. Let's see. I can probably go further in. Let's see what that's at. It's probably all the way over here, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's pretty far over. All right. It's probably about as good as it's gonna get. Let's try this a little bit. Oh, that's actually pretty good too. Okie dokie. Now, all you really have to do for this kind of shot is you're going to be using waypoints. So if you find like a crop or a trim tool, you can add a waypoint starting, make sure I have it right. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to start right and head all the way left. Oh. Let's see. No. Trim. Alright, trying to figure out. I should go all the way to the. Alright, yeah, there we go. Alright, never fear. I'm figuring this out. Fun thing about live. Okay, now that I have this set, I'm going to put in a keyframe where I want it to start. And then I'll put a keyframe over here where I want it to end. All right. Now, when we put our opacity back up, you have a little, let's let this render out for a second. When you get your transitions in, it's not super perfect, but let's say you want to get a few different angles and you want to get a nice cool shot of something. You can kind of, maybe I'll speed these up a little bit. And once I get that, there we go. Let's see. You can actually do just a pan transition without using effects as well. Now there are swipe and there are other transitions, so you could add something like that in and use that instead of doing it manually. There's really, it's up to you. There's a lot of different types of effects with After Effects, or there are a lot of different effects with Final Cut, and you really, I don't really want to show you a ton of those because they're not really as relevant if you're using a different kind of program. But I think for low budget, I mean, I'm looking at two very different sides of the park. And by doing like this funny little transition, I can easily get a different perspective just by doing your own kind of pan over. But so that is another really simple transition that you can use just by lining up your shots, being intentional with the shots that you have, and figuring out how you can get a camera transition to go from one side of the screen all the way to the other side of the screen. All right, let's switch out to a different kind of shot, one that could be kind of interesting. Final Cut, yes, Final Cut is the professional version of iMovie, and iMovie has a lot of the same features, but it also doesn't have a lot of the other more professional features. All right. I'm going to bring this one in and I'll show you guys how to do this. Let's get up to the front here. Then you just need a change of outfit. I'm going to show you how to do a split screen. You can do this on quite a few different platforms, including mobile, and it's pretty simple to do. Now, this is something you can do on iMovie. You just have to figure out the clip that you want, bring it in after you have the different parts figured out, and you can crop it and move it over to the side that you want. A few things that you will need: a tripod, consistent light. You don't want like partly cloudy or you're gonna have really weird days. And then you want to lock in your exposure and your you'll want to set your camera into manual mode. So manual aperture, manual exposure, things like that, so that you're not having really weird changes in color. All right, let's see what I've come up with here. Hi, Gordito. How are you? Have you tried our new guacamole? All right. Now that looks kind of funky just by itself. All right. We're going to switch and I'll be back. All right. Now that I am going to go switch. Take that extra bit out. Then I'm going to pull this up to the top.
How are you?
All right. Pull this over here. Now we'll use the same cropping technique here. We'll come from the right. And we'll stop right in the middle here. Hey, New Horizons, welcome, welcome. You are getting in on some of our special shots on how to edit. If you have any questions on or would like any tips on editing, please put it in the comments or the chat and I will get to it. Okay. Moving on here. Let's get this lined up. Hi, Gordito. How are you? I'm fine. How are you doing? Have you tried our new guacamole? No, but I'm dying to try it. It's that simple. All right. So, that is how you make a split screen. The biggest thing for this is, I mean, it's a novelty thing. It's not supposed to look perfect, but you know, to make it work, you kind of have to figure out what you want to say. I use my phone to record a video of me saying the lines, and then I just respond back to there. So if I respond back to the video clip. So if you take this side out, you'll hear the original lines.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Have you tried our new guacamole?
No, but I'm dying to try it. So when you add it together, what I would do is either kind of chop it and bring down the audio, or you can just add audio keyframes. And so far, most programs that I've used for video editing have the ability to do like keyframes, minus maybe like iMovie, but you do have other ways that you can bring down audio as well. So it's not a huge deal. You just kind of figure out, okay, at this point I want audio A and audio B to come down, and you just figure out how's the best way to do that with the program I have. So here's how it sounds with the audio. Hi, Gordito. How are you? I'm fine. Let's bring this over. And then when you just cut, wrong one. When you cut out all the extra, you're left with the clip here. Hi, Gordito. How are you? I'm fine. How are you doing? Have you tried our new guacamole? No, but I'm dying to try it. And then when you have this done, I like to take my trick shots like this and edit it out first. And then when I'm done, I export it as its own video file. So when I want to insert this into another video, I can just bring the entire clip in and I'm done. I don't have to deal with extra. Yes, I know. That is a good example of why you have to pay attention to your hands for sure. Let me show you what Nurse No Travel Bug is talking about. So at the beginning of the clip, I go, look at me on your right, and my hand went over the line. Now what this ends up doing is you just cut your hand off. Some people will notice, some people won't, but when you're doing this kind of shot, the best way is to say, okay, don't let my hand go. Kind of figure out with like a screen, if you can see yourself, look at the screen and say, don't move my hand past here. It might feel kind of weird to be like, hi, how are you? Hope you're having fun. Or you can keep your hands down at your side or something like that. But you can't use a ton of like expressive motions because your hands will be jumping over into the other screen. And to make this screen look seamless, you're going to have to not move. And you notice that me on the left hand side doesn't move my arms. Oh. All right, let's get this. Hi Gordito, how are you? I'm fine, how are you doing? Have you tried our new guacamole? No, but I'm dying to try it. So I did a whole lot better on the second time, keeping myself within my little box. It does take a little bit of practice, but it's something that you can do fairly easily just by kind of understanding how you want your shots to work. All right, let's get moving on. One of the last shots I wanted to go over was kind of something that I've done once or twice, but it is a little more tricky shot. That's why I decided to kind of wait until further in on the video. This is kind of how you transition from one camera shot into another camera shot and make it look somewhat seamless, I guess. So let's come back into my editor. See what this. There are other kind of shots that you can do that are pretty fun and unique as well. God dang it. All right, let's see here. There are some shots that you can do that are pretty unique and awesome as well. Sometimes I just take a few different shots, like let's see if I can jump out over this area here. You might be asking, what the heck is that? Here is part one of my clip, was me talking about this as well. And I probably should have said jump out over this ravine or jump out over this river area here. Sometimes it's hard for me to think of the best word for this. I'm gonna edit my shot about right here. I'll take that one out, and then I'm gonna use my drone shot. I'm gonna bring in my drone. Now there's a lot of extra drone stuff I don't need, but the biggest thing for me is I want to try and hello forever nomad. I want to try and line up my shot. Now there's a couple ways to do this. That's a little far over. I'm going to zoom in just a tad on this. Move it over and down just a tad. Now what I'm doing, boom, is I'm creating a shot, and I'll show you how this works. So you'll see, boom, right over there. So Forever Nomad, I'm using Final Cut, but the things that I'm trying to show on this video really go, you could use it with Filmora, you can use it with a bunch of different types of editing software. So don't just think that, oh, you can only do what I'm doing on this one program. You can do this really quite easily on most other software. Now, you'll notice that my colors are a lot different. I'm not gonna go into video color balancing and stuff too much on this video, because it's not really the purpose of what I was this video, because it's just way too much. And I mean, even if I try to change it up just a bit, the colors are just going to be odd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the speeds on a few of these clips. Let's see, out there I can probably take this one back down to normal speed. And I'm going to add, not on my transitions, here. I'm going to add a zoom effect here, and I'm going to make that up to 4. This might be a little more on the effect stuff, but you can do this most of the time. You can do something kind of similar to this on most editing programs. At least most of the ones that I've used have this ability. I'm going to go to the end of this clip. I'm going to add a waypoint into it. Come back out. Bring that out to 0. And then I'm going to do the same effect over on the other clip so that I get some kind of motion blur. So that Forever Nomad, go back and rewatch this video from the beginning, and I go over a lot of very basic editing tips on this. This is kind of like the end of the live stream, so you're seeing stuff that after I've been talking about other things, if that makes sense. Sorry for what Forever Nomad said. Wow, this is over my head. Oh boy. Yeah, this is not your normal, but I wanted to show some, and this is why I'm not wanting to get into color correcting on this video, because I could go for a long time. But the colors I had to change to get it look well enough here don't look that well on my face. So I have to kind of fix it. I'll just take this back to normal. So why this renders out, the main purpose that I wanted to do this live stream for was to get you guys to think about, I'm shooting something, I have an idea of how I want to edit this shot. Now, what you can easily do is say, oh, I want this shot to go from here to here, and I'm just going to do like a motion swipe with my camera, and then you just do a motion swipe in the other direction to where you want your shot to focus on, and then you just cut and move it over, call it good. Go back over to my editor, and when you watch it like this, let's see if this looks any better. Sometimes I just take a few different shots, like let's see if I can jump out over this area here. So, alright, don't need this motion blur to be that crazy at that point. So I can, it's probably going to be right about here. Bring that down. Let's see how this looks. Done rendering out. And you're still doing it. Okay. Sometimes waypoint here. Waypoint there. There we go. That way you can show more from your shot, and it kind of mimics like your camera just starts flying out into the void where you can't be because gravity. But one thing that I like is you can add some music to something like this. All right. So I'm going to find a clip of music. All right. I like that one. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. And then by adding the music, it ramps it up. And when you go and you change your effect, people are going to be like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Sometimes I just take a few different shots. Like, let's see if I can jump out over this area here. And you can go into your other effects or whatnot after that. All right, by adding some effects, thinking, how can I make this shot turn into this shot in a very funny, unique way, that'll help raise the quality of your video by a huge amount. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Really and truly, people are not expecting perfection. They're not expecting people to make these amazing videos starting out. If you have a couple hundred or even a couple thousand subscribers and you don't have all this stuff perfected, it's okay. It's totally fine. What I want to show you is that you can get creative with your shots and you can do some pretty cool stuff like this area here. Now it's pretty simple after the fact to work on making the colors match a little better. Now there are different settings and profile settings that you could change, let's say on a drone or on a GoPro, that would match the color of, let's say, your main camera or your cell phone, and then it could even be seamless. If you take the time and you practice enough and get good enough at editing, you could fairly easily do just like the shot that I showed you here and make it so you don't even realize what happened. I've seen a lot of people that do really good videography do things like they're over on a building and then they jump to another building. They use a drone and then it goes right back to a camera, and there are things that are just absolutely incredible, and it's just learning how your cameras will work or work together and interact together. If anybody has any kind of comments, or you would like me to try and explain something to you guys, by all means let me know. And I'll say it again, a lot of the editing tips that I'm showing you work on most desktop versions of video editing software, but also a lot of this can work on mobile. So the biggest thing that I would suggest is figure out how the tips that I'm showing you here, how can I make that work on the software that I'm using. That way you're not trying to be like, well, that tool isn't there and that special effect isn't here, and you're not getting caught up on the software. You're thinking, how can I take this kind of a swipe transition or some kind of a movement transition, how can I make that look smooth just by using the tools that I have available with me. So that is the basics of what I wanted to show you guys today. If you're just joining, I highly suggest you go back to the beginning of this live stream, check it out, check out some of the other tips that I showed you. And if you're newer to editing overall, go check out my Essentials of YouTube series, where I go over how to tell your story, how to come up with a YouTube name that would encapsulate and what you are as a person, as a family, and you can grow that way. So thank you guys so much for joining. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And as always, remember, I'm Garrett, and I want to help you tell your story. Bye, everybody.